conversations as they interfere with audio recording. If you need to have a side conversation, please step out of the chambers. Please do not attempt to interrupt or speak over people. Intimidating or threatening speech or behavior will not be tolerated at any time. Please refrain from clapping or cheering during the hearing. Our first item in the agenda is item number 1. The Provo City Council proposes ordinance text amendments to Chapter 14.3, Accessory Dwelling Units, to update and clarify regulations, citywide application. And our Malia Daly, not
Michael Sanders.
Michael Sanders will be presenting. Yeah, you'll have 15 minutes for, well, let me, right now, staff, I'll let you take as much time as you want.
All right. My goal is 5 minutes or less.
I like that.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. Good afternoon. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Michael Sanders. I work with the City Council. Malia could not be here tonight as she's out sick, so I'm just going to take over for her for tonight. So just as a refresher, October 17th of this past year, the City Council requested to hear a one-year report or a follow-up report from the October 2022 amendments to the ADU ordinance, Title 14.30. And just as a refresher, the updates that occurred in that October 2022 ordinance was West Side residential permitted use of ADUs. The occupancy limit was increased from 2 to 3, and the petition pathway process was created. So the purpose of this report tonight, the purpose of that October 17th report was to give the council a chance to weigh in on the potential need for changes to the ADU ordinance. After discussion by the council, they determined that no substantial action would be taken regarding ADUs at that time, but they did pass a motion directing council staff to create cleanup language that would, 1, create a definition for ADUs to be placed into the code, 2, prohibit ADUs in zones where ADUs could not realistically be supported or were feasible, and 3, reduce confusion and eliminate redundancies in the code, and that motion passed 7-0. So just now quickly, we're going to go over the proposed language. Could you go to the next slide for me, Sandy? There we go. Okay, so just up here, the subsection 2, all in blue there, is just the definition that we crafted for ADUs. Just note that for the purposes of this chapter, internal and external ADUs are treated as having the same definition. All references to or differences between internal, external ADUs throughout the chapter have been deleted, and now just ADU is its own definition there. In this slide here, you can see we just took out the Utah State Code annotated reference and also deleted the section that says area zoned primarily for residential use list has been deleted from sub 2 and just moved up to a different section of the code. And the last thing is the pro zones and the SDP zones that were previously allowed are now prohibited as they cannot feasibly support ADUs. Currently, as of this moment, about 44.3% of residentially zoned areas permit ADUs. By removing the pro zones and these SDP zones, it will the percentage will drop by less than 1%. So in other words, the city will still be within the limits of the state code allowance. And the council is scheduled to hear another report regarding the ADU ordinance in May of 2024. So that is the bulk of the amendment. And now we're just looking for a planning commission recommendation on this proposed amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Lisa, Commissioner Jensen.
In the section 14.30.010, the purpose and objectives, numbers 2 and 3 seem like they're definitions and not like a purpose and objectives. So I don't know if there was intended to be a division there. This is the definition section. It just didn't seem to fit there is all.
Yeah, that might just be a cleanup item for the council attorney at that point,
Just-
but I think he may see that as the
Okay,
same.
I just wanted to point it out in
there,
case he misses it because that seemed not right. My next question is on page 11 of the staff report. It's 14.30.040, number 4. It's application for a permitted use for multiple homes. And I was wondering if that is even necessary to have in there, because my understanding of ADUs is that this wouldn't technically be a possibility. If owners have to live in the unit and then they can rent out one other portion of it, why do we have a procedure for how to apply for multiple properties at once? You can't live in multiple properties at once. So I was just wondering if that was maybe something that could just be X'd out as well.
That did not come up during the council discussion, but I think that would be worthwhile to forward in your
Mr. Ardmore
report
looks
of
like he
action.
might have an answer for me.
Yes, we will defer to Mr. Ardmore.
Thank you. Sorry. So that is for when a larger neighborhood wants to, kind of like they used to do with the ARS overlay, a larger area of the city, multiple homeowners want to apply ADU allowance to multiple homes. So each one of those homes
Wouldn't have to make
on
a
a
separate
block.
application.
Yeah, wouldn't have to make a separate application. Like an entire block could
Okay.
come into.
Does
the
there
ADU
need to be
allowance.
language here that explains the certain because as I was reading through this, I was reading through it with the understanding of the ADU process that's relatively new, where an individual property owner can do it for this reason. And so it didn't differentiate that. I didn't know if that would help. If we're doing this simply to clean it up, I didn't know if that would be helpful to know that it's not clear what that means.
Yeah, so I mean, that's up to the council. This is their ordinance, but that's just to give you context on what that
Okay.
standard was.
Yeah, if you wanted to include that in your report of action, then we could certainly look into it.
I don't know, it might not be important to anyone else, so that's just something I noticed. My last one is on page 5 of the staff report, 14.30.020. What is now numbered as 2 in blue. I'm not really sure what this is saying, because it almost sounds like it's saying it's not allowed in these places except in these places where it is allowed. It almost seems like it's a double negative, which makes it kind of confusing to figure out what it's saying. So I was just, as I was reading through it, going, so it's not allowed unless it's in the map area, or it is allowed if it's in the map area. And then my other question, it says in B, it says except as shown in the map below. And my question was, I thought that ADUs were now allowed in every residential zone with an application and meeting certain criteria. So that's why I was wondering why there was a map if it was not. Anyway.
Yes, I'd like to phone a friend, Aaron Ardmore.
It may actually be written here clearly, but as I was reading through it, I was confused.
So the map is where it's permitted by right now.
Okay.
Those are areas that before the new 1430 was adopted, allowed either through A or S overlay or RC zone.
Mhm.
So those, as we went away from those overlay zones, those were carried over into this map, so they didn't lose that right for an ADU.
But do you understand what I'm saying? That I wasn't clear whether the map was inclusive or exclusive based on all
Yes.
this circuitous legal ease that's in here.
Yes, the legalese does make it confusing, but yes, the gray sections on the map do allow. for
Okay, so you
ADUs.
feel like as somebody who has to make this happen, that it's clear in the language there.
It's clear to me.
Okay,
In my, I can see how it wouldn't be clear to somebody that isn't looking at the code every day. Yes.
okay. Thank you.
In pro zones, if there's a ADU in a pro zone now existing, what happens to them if that pro zone is, are they grandfathered in, or what is the procedure?
My assumption would be that they would be grandfathered in, but without my legal counsel here, I could not give a definitive answer. That is
They're
correct.
grandfathered in. So they wouldn't have to go and apply for, I see where it talked about.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to
special-
reapply.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, well, I don't see any other questions for you right now. Thank you. Any district representatives here to comment? I don't see any. That will go ahead and open this up for public comment. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak? I'm seeing mostly staff and. Nope. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of the meeting. We'll open it up for commission discussion. Any additional comments you'd like to make or concerns? There aren't any. Does someone want to put forward a motion?
I guess my only thing is the things that confused Robert and I, were they equally confusing, or is there something we can just dust off and say it doesn't matter?
I was also confused by that part where it's exclusive. It's like, it's not allowed except in this, and that was confusing. I think they should say it is allowed, or do it in some other way. But
I kind of wonder if, because the ADU opportunity has evolved drastically over the last couple of years, that maybe it was put into a place where it used to be more exclusive and now it's more inclusive, and maybe the language could be flip-flopped to be easier because of that. You know, it used to be it was only allowed in a few areas, and now it's allowed in so many areas except these. So I think we're also looking at it with the lens of, according to what Mr. Ardmore said, I think maybe I'm misunderstanding that this even includes those that can, I guess it's only at the very end where it includes those who can apply for it, and everyone, the rest of the language is about just outright who can have it.
yeah, so by right, because of the zone they're in, versus later on, they can have an exception if they apply.
Right.
Right, okay.
So I just feel like if we're doing this much effort to make something better, then let's make sure everything about it is clear while we have the opportunity, so we don't have to come back and do it again. So I don't actually have any major things to suggest, but I would just maybe point out those few areas where it feels like it could be swept in a little nicer.
Perhaps what we could, if there's not any other opposition or so, we could.
We don't make a decision on
like
this.
putting together a positive recommendation and addressing
The things that were noted.
the fixes in the subsections noted.
I would, and I don't even, it's something like if we were to vote on it, it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me, but I feel like it's something they should make sure they pay attention to so that the nicest, cleanest document goes forward. So if I were to put forth a recommendation or a motion, I would say to recommend approval to the municipal council, and then make sure that they pay attention to the points that were brought up in the planning commission discussion. All right, I'm happy to do that if everyone has nodded. Okay. I will make a motion that we forward a positive recommendation to the municipal council for item number 1. The Provo City Council proposes ordinance text amendments to chapter 14.30 accessory dwelling units to update and clarify regulations. And along with that positive recommendation, we would just encourage the municipal council to review the areas that were a little confusing for us in the document.
I'll second it.
Any discussions on the motion?
Oh,
No.
Yeah.
And we can have a second by Commissioner Willeen. Let's go ahead and vote. Commissioner Willeen.
aye.
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 Passes 6-0 for a positive recommendation to municipal council for approval. With that, we don't have anything else on the agenda, and we will adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I think someone in the audience tried to make a motion, but you can't. I move that we adjourn.
Okay. Second on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I just want to say we won't be meeting again this year. I want to thank city staff, development services. So we so appreciate your professionalism and your your hard work. It's an honor to serve here on the Planning Commission. And so everyone have a happy and safe holidays. Thank you.
Thank you.